so much. Thank you, everybody. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. I got to say, I've been doing search engine optimization since 1995. And back in 1995, if I would have said, hey, let's have a lunch so people can learn about SEO, the crickets wouldn't even come. So I am so glad to see so many people here, especially so many marketing people. Now, I get asked this a lot, so I'll let you all know right up front, yes, I really am a doctor. So if anyone's spleen should happen to rupture, please make sure that I'm the last person you call. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm an academic doctor. I could research ruptured spleen all day long. But if your spleen does rupture and you want me to actually do surgery on you, you're probably going to die. So I don't know much about medical stuff, but what I do know a lot about is search engine optimization. Like I said, I've been doing it since 1995. Back then, it wasn't even called search engine optimization. And for those of you that weren't here in January, I actually did a presentation on applied SEO techniques, which is ways that you can get your website higher in the search engine. Today is going to be pitfalls to avoid, things you don't want to do. You can either do it for yourself, or you can do it for your SEO specialist, your web designer, whoever you want. You can either use it to make sure that you're doing the right things or make sure they're doing the right things, either way. And the first point I have today is about websites. And for you small business people, I'd highly recommend that you do this. Own your website. And that might sound stupid, because you might think, well, I do own my website. But do you have the master password and log into that? Most websites today, well, I won't say most, but a lot, and a lot more, are being designed using WordPress. And WordPress is a great program. And your designer might design the website and give you the WordPress login and password. But that's not your master login and password. There's actually an umbrella area that runs the WordPress stuff. So if you only have your WordPress login and password, you actually don't have control over your own website. And a lot of designers won't give you that because they will take every website they design and put it all into one spot. But that doesn't help you, because if a hacker hacks it, now he's hacked all those websites. You don't want that. So if you don't have control of your website, now this is me personally, we have a hosting called Cool Web Hosting. You can get an account there for free. You can move everything there if you want, or move it somewhere else if you want to. But if you don't have main control of your website, get control over it. And if you do have main control over it, change the password today. As soon as you get back to the office, as soon as you get back home, change it. Because just like you heard, it's about $690,000 if somebody hacks into your website and starts causing problems with your small business. You don't want that. And with the way passwords are these days, you can make a cryptic password very easy. Now, I realize that doesn't sound right. How do you make something cryptic and easy? Consider this. I love my dogs. Sorry, cat lovers. That could be a great password. Every I could be the number 1 or an exclamation point. Make the S's dollar signs. The first letter of every word is capitalized. So you just created a sentence, I love my dogs, into a very cryptic password that you can remember. Now, you don't want to do I love my cats, and don't tell my cat I said that. I'm joking. Think of something that you will remember, whether it's a sentence, a word, something that you like. Throw that into your password. The more things you can use with I or S are great, because I's can either be the number 1 or an exclamation point, and S can always be a dollar sign. When you use those, you're much more likely to have a cryptic password that nobody will ever crack. Now, of course, that is impossible. Anybody can crack anything. Give you an idea. If your password is about 4 characters long, in today's algorithms, the techie stuff, it would take a hacker about 3 weeks to just brute force find that password. If it's 12 characters long, it would take them about 6 months of constantly watching the computer. So if you've got a small business website, they're not going to spend 6 months trying to hack in to your little business that has, a 5-page website. They're not going to spend the time on it. They might on the US government, but they won't on you. So passwords really aren't guaranteed to keep people out. You just want to make it so difficult it's not worth their time. And the number 1 way that websites get hacked now is by hackers actually trying to type in your password. If you run a plumbing company, you don't want your password to be plumber with a capital P. I had a company that did that, and they got hacked. So you don't want that. You want to make it something that's going to be difficult for anybody else. That's why I like that. Unless you have a dog company, like if you have a dog company, I wouldn't make your password, I love my dogs. It's almost too obvious. Make it something else. Make it something that's not part of your company. Another thing to be aware of is black hat techniques. Now, does anybody know, have people heard the term black hat? Yeah, cool. A few people have. Anybody know where it comes from? It comes from Western movies back in the 1940s and 1950s, where every good guy wore a white hat and every bad guy wore a black hat. That's literally where the term comes from. And it was like that until the mid-60s, when the guy with no name did the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where the hero of that movie wore a black hat. It was the very first time in movie history where that happened. So today, black hat, of course, doesn't mean illegal. There's very little you can do on the internet as a business person that's illegal. But there's a lot of things you can do that Google and Bing don't like. And that's black hat techniques. The two top techniques that most people that aren't familiar with marketing do as a mistake are copying text and doing bad backlinks. I'm going to pick on plumbers today, mostly because I work a lot with plumbers, and so I see a lot of what they do. Let's say you're a plumbing company here in Tacoma, and you have a website, and maybe you want a frequent questions page, and you have a friend who runs a plumbing company in Texas, and they've got a great frequent questions page, and the guy says, hey, copy mine. We're not competitors, no big deal. And so you do, and you get higher in the search engines because it's got great keywords on it, until Google finds out. Now, if you're lucky, because remember, these are two direct copies, Google sees that as spamming, and eventually Google will see it. So when they see it, if you're lucky, they'll do what's called the little Google slap. Oh, by the way, see, I love research. I love researching stuff, and I researched this not too long ago. Did you know that if somebody upsets you, it actually takes 27 muscles to make a frown in your face, but only 4 to reach out and slap them? So no more frowning. Anyway, there's a thing called Google Slap. And what they do is, if you have a web page that's a direct copy of another site, it basically disappears off the internet. They slap you kind of for doing it. They don't blacklist you or anything, but they basically tell you, you can't do that. If you do it for every page on your website, you could get blacklisted. Now, blacklisting is a little bit worse than slapping. We have worked with 3 companies in the past that got blacklisted. 2 of the 3 companies paid us to help them get done. The 3rd company just changed their business name. That's how bad this is. You get blacklisted, it's not like your website isn't found on Google anymore. Your company won't be found on Google Maps. Somebody types in your company name, and it won't show up. How many people would that hurt? I mean, everybody goes to Google. You don't want to get blacklisted, which is why you don't want to copy text. Now, there's a workaround. And for those of you in January, sorry, you've already heard this, but the workaround is, if you don't want to do the writing yourself, take that frequently asked questions page that your friend offered you, hire somebody to rewrite it. Use the same meaning, different words. As long as the content itself is original, Google don't care. They just don't want exact copies. So there you can use the information that you find, or the information that someone offers, and it doesn't hurt you at all. And the reason for that is the 2 companies that we helped, the minimum that it cost was $10,000 to get them back into Google, and a year. That was just to get their name back into Google. So once you get back into Google, once you get a blacklist, you then get sandboxed. So you're in Google, but you ain't going nowhere. Your keywords won't go up in the search engines. No one will be able to find you unless they actually type your business name. So it took a year to get their name in there, and then another year just to get them back up in the search engines to a decent spot. It's a lot of money if you get blacklisted from Google to get you back in, which is why with the 3rd company, we finally convinced them, just change your business name. It was cheaper to do that than just to try to fight Google over it for a year or 2. Bad backlinks is the other one, and this one is even trickier. I worked with a client who had hired an SEO specialist, and the specialist created marketing pages for them. No problem with that. They put them up on other websites, and they had links back to their company. That's what a backlink is. Some of you might be hearing about link juice these days. It's just a fancy word of saying backlinks. And so they had backlinks coming to their website, and the website shot to the top of the search engines. And then about 6 months later, it took about 6 months, they just disappeared out of the search engines. Because this company was an architect firm, and the links were on TV repair in the UK. Outback tourism in Australia. It was obvious that these links had absolutely nothing to do with the company. Now, if there was an Outback, Australian tourism company next to the architect company, Google would have seen the addresses and known that they were similar. But these were across, not even just in the US, these were across the world. And so Google eventually just said, no, we're not going to let you use that anymore. They got slapped, and all that money they paid that SEO person, gone down the drain. So you want to be careful even about your backlinks. A lot of people push backlinks a lot, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. And backlinks aren't bad, you just got to be careful with where they're being put. Make sure that they're on at least decent sites. Something like if you're an architect, something to do with construction, or some sort of similar organization. If it's another architect firm in the UK, Google would have had no problem with it because it was a similar firm. That's why I say look at the difference between bad backlinks and good backlinks can be kind of techy-nerdy, really getting into the details of it. But if you hire somebody and they're putting backlinks from a boat repair company in Iceland, you know that it's not going to be a good backlink. And here's one of the pages I just added in, because this one, a company just hired us. And they said that they had a couple of other domain names pointing to their regular website. Well, I found out they had 17, which having 17 domain names is no big deal, but it's not going to help you. And it really could hurt you. All these domains are being forwarded to one website. No problem. Google doesn't care. But when you forward a domain, there's this little thing in there that says masking. If you forward a domain with masking, like let's say I have lots of different domain names. I have Port Bell, introdesigns.com, for those of you that are familiar with what our company name used to be, Tacoma SEO.com, Puyallup SEO.com. Those are all me. Okay. Let's say I forward Puyallup SEO to my Port Bell account. If you use masking, it's going to look like Puyallup SEO. It's not going to have the Port Bell name on there. So it's going to look like two different websites. Now, remember what I said about copying text? What do you think Google's going to do when they see 17 websites with the exact same text? They're lucky they didn't get blacklisted. So watch out with forwarding domain names. It can backfire with you very easily. My recommendation is, if you're going to get a domain name, put a website on there. It doesn't have to be big, maybe 1 to 3 pages. Do a small marketing website, have everything else forward to your main, which is actually all of my small websites. That's what they do. And there are some SEO people that will say, why would you do different websites? Put it all on one website. Well, here's the difference. You put it all on one website, you might be number 1 in your SEO. I have it on 4 websites. Now I have spots 1 through 4 of the top 10. Which ones would you rather have? You type Puyallup SEO, we actually have 3 of the top 10 spots right now. I talk about this one a lot because your customer is not the world. And this is going to be a tricky one because I think there's people in here today that know this, but I was at a networking meeting one day and a person proudly stood up and the guy said, I'm in the skincare industry. Anybody with skin is my customer. It's very cute and it's kind of funny, but it's not true. And the average 2-year-old in Ethiopia isn't their customer. Their parents might be, but I doubt it. They're still in Ethiopia. It's a lot of shipping charges. So target your customer greatly. What does this have to do with SEO? How much money do you want to spend on your search engine optimization? How much time do you want to spend? You know how much time it would take to target everybody in the world? Target your customer to the head of a pin. if you can do it. I have a client I just started working with, and he's doing great. He did so much that I didn't even have to do. It was great. His target market is women that are 45 to 55 years old, empty nesters whose husbands are working and have an upper middle class wage paying job. That's his target market, because that's the number one person that is starting small businesses right now. That their kids are grown up, the husband's still working all day, they want to do something, they want to make a difference, they want to start a business. And he loves working with startups. He knows that's his target. That's really targeted, isn't it? But that's his prime target market. That doesn't mean you don't market to other people as well, but find your prime target market. There's a specific reason why I'm standing here today. My prime target market is small businesses in the Tacoma area. Thank you all very much. That's how detailed you should target them. What kind of car do they drive? Where do they work? Where do they live? What kind of stores do they shop? All of that can tell you a lot. An auto repair shop that I know of, you go into their main page and they have Lamborghinis and they've got all these really cool cars that I don't even know the names of. I mean, it just looks awesome. But they only fix cars that are 1995 and older. They don't even fix new cars. What they're showing on their webpage is exactly opposite of what their target is. Doesn't help in the least bit. So people go there and they see the Lamborghini and they think, hey, the guy can fix my Lamborghini. He can't touch a Lamborghini. So that's why it's important to find your target market, because you want to base everything else off that target. You go to my website, portbell.com. The first thing you see is a bunch of palm trees in the sun. What does that have to do with SEO? Nothing. What it does have to do with is to tell people, I like working with a certain kind of person that has a calm, relaxed personality. I'm not a type A driven person. People that are type A have hired me in the past. Sometimes the personalities just don't work out great, and so maybe they'll hire someone else, or I have some that I still work with. But it lets them know right up front who my target market is. The homepage dilemma. What do you put on your homepage and how much is too much? I get this quite a lot. And I usually get it from people who have a homepage that has about 10 words on it. Oh, the name of the company just skipped my mind. There was a survey done, or a research done, that just came out middle of last year. And the average page that is number one on Google right now is 2,000 words. That's a lot of words. You don't have to have 2,000 words on your homepage. As a matter of fact, the search engines are getting much more sophisticated. You'll find that 9 times, I won't even say 9, let's say half the time, it isn't even your homepage that's on page 1. But do you care what page is on page 1 as long as people find you? No. So you don't have to have 2,000 words on your homepage. But if the average page that's number one on Google is 2,000 words, I'd make every page on your website 2,000 pages. Why not? As long as you make it accurate, good content, you're going to do just fine. See, back in 1995, one thing was true about search engine optimization, about getting pages to the top of the search engines. If you had accurate content on your website, you could get to page 1. Not that you would, but you're much more likely. Today, the exact same thing is still true. It's all based off of accurate content. Google spends millions of dollars a year to give you accurate content. If you went to Google today and you typed in Tacoma Sewing Company and it popped up with plumbers, you wouldn't go back to Google. You'd go somewhere else. That's what they care about. Everything else is secondary. Accurate content is king. So how much is too much? Well, if the average is 2,000, you could even do 4,000. You could write a book on page 1. Now, the people may not like it, but Google will, because Google loves text. Bing loves text. More keywords, or for those of you in the music industry, more cowbell, as they said a few years ago. There's a reason why more words are better. I get asked constantly, how many keywords can I have on a page? And every SEO person that you ask is going to tell you something different. And most of them will tell you it's relative, or there's no surefire way to know, or basically they won't answer it. I've found that generally it's 2%. That's how much you have to work with. Now, that's not fast and true. If you have a frequent questions page and all of your questions are about your business, it's a heavy keyword page. There's going to be more than 2% on that page, and Google understands that. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you've got your homepage and your homepage just says architect, 50,000 times, they're also going to know you're spamming the website. 2% on average. So if your front page has 10 words, you got 2/10 or 4/10. 4/10 of one word that you can use as a keyword. Doesn't give you much room. If you have 2,000 words, you've got what, 40? You can do 40 keywords on one page and Google won't care? That's a lot of keywords. That's the whole point of that. The more words you have on the page, the more keywords you can use. And it won't look spammy because you've got more keywords. I hate going to a website where it says, hi, we Puyallup Web Design, do Puyallup Web Design, one Puyallup Web Design, we Puyallup. I leave immediately whenever I see sites like that. So how little is too little? I would say, again, that's relative. Your contact us page is probably going to have less than 100 words on it. It may only have 20, but it's a contact us page. It shouldn't have a lot of words. So it depends on the page. Your frequently asked questions page should have at least 2,000 words. If you have a blog, your blog should be 10, 20, 30,000 words, but that's built over time. So it is relative, but your general pages, if you have a page about your main product or service, it should be at least 2,000 to 4,000 words. And for those of you that weren't here in January, the trick around that is you don't have to write it yourself. You can dictate it over your phone, send it to someone to transcribe it, hire someone to write it for you. You don't have to write it yourself. But this is one of the things that you will see. You start looking at websites, you'll see the websites that you find at the top of the search engines have more words. Now, there's a trick to it also. Your first, especially if you have 2,000 words, your first 2 paragraphs are the paragraphs that you're going to want to write for people. Really what it is about your product or service. Everything below that is secondary stuff about it, but the most important stuff is the first 2 paragraphs. Because what do you want? Do you want someone to go and read 2,000 words and go, oh, that's interesting? Or do you want them to read 1 paragraph and then call you? Get the information that they want right up top. And then I'd even put a little thing, contact us right after the first paragraph. Because I don't know about you, I rarely read past the first paragraph myself. So most of that page is for the search engines, but again, you don't just throw a bunch of keywords in there. You make it good content. I get people that want to hit me on this all the time because I hear it constantly. Post on Facebook so that you can get higher in the search engines. Has anybody ever done a search for your business name and have your Facebook profile come up? Anybody ever done that? Do it. Your profile will come up. It'll probably be on page 1. Do a search for any post you've ever done. You'll never find it. Facebook and Google are competitors. Interesting enough, for some strange reason, LinkedIn now shows up on Bing. I used to tell people, don't do it in any of the social media sites. Microsoft opened up LinkedIn. So you do LinkedIn posts and LinkedIn articles, they're showing up on Bing now. They're even showing up on Google now. It's interesting. So there is one of them that's showing up. No matter what you do on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, any of it. None of it will help your website in the least bit, even if you link to your website from it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it won't help your business, especially if you have a visual business. You have anything you can take pictures of or do videos of. You better be on Instagram. You better be on Pinterest. You better be on Facebook. I'll have lots of time for questions as soon as I'm done. Okay, but remember, please remember your question. So it doesn't mean that it won't help your business. It just won't help your website get higher in the search engines. I post on Facebook all the time. I'm doing a lot more posting on LinkedIn now, simply because it helps my rankings better than anything else does. The tough thing about SEO is you can't take a picture of it, so it doesn't do well on Instagram at all. What surprises me is I post these pictures on Instagram because I do an auto post for my blog. So they go up on Instagram, no explanation of them. The hashtags don't make much sense, and yet I still get more followers. I haven't figured that part out. YouTube is different than the others. Of course, YouTube isn't a social media platform. YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world. What many of you may not know is YouTube is also now the #2 most looked at website in the world. It didn't used to be. It just got that ranking. YouTube also transcribes all of its videos. There's a little CC for people that can't hear. And what you may not know is YouTube does not use any of that transcription to help you get higher in the search engines. Because if you've looked at it, their transcriptions are terrible. Luckily, they filter out what they think are bad words, because if they weren't, their transcriptions have bad words everywhere, even when you don't say them. Everything you do on YouTube, and by the way, if you have a business, you need to be on YouTube. You do a video about your business. I did a little 2-minute video off my cell phone. What is SEO? Because I was getting asked constantly about just what is it? I think it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It was not that great of a video. The audio wasn't good. It was windy. I did it outside. And I have more hits on that one little video than everything else I've ever done. And I've done some pretty good videos. Well, at least I think so. But if you're in business, do videos. It's well worth it. It's not going to hurt. If nothing else, like, why buy from me than someone else? What is my highest product? It doesn't have to just be on YouTube. Put it on the front page of your website as well. But what you want to do on YouTube is work on the description and the keywords. And the description should be a synopsis. My little 2-minute video has a synopsis. The synopsis is almost what I said. But don't use your transcript there. If you do an exact transcript of what you said, YouTube will notice that and you won't get ranked high in their search engine. I haven't figured out why they do that, but they do. So do a synopsis that's different than your transcription. And make sure you do all the keywords that you can, because YouTube looks at those. That's how you get ranked in YouTube. Someday, their own transcription service will get good enough that we won't have to do this anymore. But today's not that day. Beware of the latest craze. I talked about backlinks, and I talked about movies. I've been asked about Alexa skills before. If you want to do something that will help you get higher in the search engines, you do good, quality, accurate content. That's number one. Everything else is number two. Don't worry about the right domain name. Don't worry about, having link juice and having, 2,000 backlinks versus 200 backlinks. Don't worry about having the right YouTube movies. Worry about having the right content on your website. To me, that's the number one thing. People jump on the latest craze, which we're almost programmed to do that anyway, aren't we? I mean, how many people stand in line for the iPhone XS when they already have the 10? Or 10S, whatever they are. I don't have an iPhone. If you have good quality, solid content on your website, then start doing backlinks. Start doing movies. Start doing all the other stuff. But the content is number one. And I'd say even if you do have good quality content, you could probably add on to it, because when I realized that the top pages had about 2,000 words, my web pages had about 200. So I only had about 10% of what I needed. And of course, last but not least, you're in business because you are very good at what you do. Big question you also want to ask yourself is, do you want to add in doing the SEO yourself? Get help. You can call us. There's other SEO companies. I don't mind the competition. It's no one person is the right person for anybody, or for everybody, I should say. So yeah, if you'd like to call us, we've got our phone number and our website there. A lot of what I talked about today is in my book, Timeless SEO Secrets. It's available on Amazon, digital version on iBooks and all over the place.